I'm Dan Abrams, and you're watching Law and Crime.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're still reacting to the prosecution's rebuttal closing argument in the trial for the death of Ahmaud Arbery that just concluded. They took a break. We're waiting to jump back live. In the meantime, let's go live to Glynn County. This is Michael Bryant is outside of the Glynn County Courthouse right now. Michael, good morning to you. It's great to see you. What a closing argument, rebuttal closing argument by Prosecutor Linda Dunikoski. I'd like your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it really was really well done, well laid out. You know, I think there was a kind of a benefit for the prosecution that came about not by their own doing, but remember yesterday when counsel for William Bryan did his closing, and as usual, Kevin Goff, an interesting style, sometimes a little labored, a little confused, you know, flipping a lot of pages, going back and forth. My point is that he took so long to do his closing that it pushed the prosecution's rebuttal into this morning, which I think is a tremendous advantage for them. Now what's the jury got most fresh in their mind as they hear the instructions and then begin deliberating? It's the words of Linda Dunikoski and those images she used. You know, Marcus Arbery was in the courtroom, the father of Ahmaud Arbery, and he had to leave when he saw that blood-soaked photo of his son sprawled on that Satia Shores street. Very powerful stuff, very well put together, and making the point that all three of these guys are responsible. She linked them all very cohesively and in a very simple way the jury should be able to grasp, understand, and if the prosecution gets their way, come back with a number of convictions here.
Yeah, and before we go into what the rest of the day is going to look like, walk me through if you're hearing any reactions to the closing arguments, either the closings from yesterday or if you heard anything in the few minutes after Linda Dunikoski's rebuttal closing argument from today. Walk us through what the scene is like.
Yeah, you know, as I say all the time, Jesse, a trial is a living, breathing thing, and that's reflected here outside the courtroom as well. There's some ebb and there's some flow. Yesterday, a lot of flow. We had the new Black Panthers here. They were armed with assault-style rifles. There was marching. There was loud protest. Pretty quiet here today. It's almost as if everybody was ready for closings to be done yesterday and get into the, you know, the watchful waiting of deliberation today. So very quiet here. I'll tell you what, even though virtually all of the supporters are for the Ahmaud Arbery camp, you know, justice for Ahmaud, I did hear a local kind of reflecting what may be the only support, as it were, for the defendants, and that local simply just said, you know, I hope we never have a trial like this again in Brunswick, Georgia.
I think nobody wants to ever see this again. When the verdict comes down, first let's talk about the way the rest of the day is going to look. We have Thanksgiving around the corner. What do we anticipate in terms of when the jury will begin their deliberations, how long it could go, and when we can expect a verdict?
Yeah, some of those I'd love to be able to answer for you, Jesse, but let me give you my educated guesses and the facts as well. So they will be instructed. It's about a 40-page instruction. We're getting used to these long, complicated jury instructions, and we all know here at the network how important those instructions are, both for the outcome today and any possible appeals down the road. So that's going to happen. That's going to unfold. I would think that's going to take us near what the judge would consider the best time to have a little bit of a lunch break. So maybe they'll pop into the deliberations room, select a four-person, and then have a bite to eat and begin the deliberations process. We know that the judge has given them great latitude as to how long they want to deliberate, both today and tomorrow, and, if necessary, Friday and Saturday. So we'll know more at the end of today, when they've had about 4 or 5 hours to sink their teeth into this case, where we stand, where they'll go from today forward.
And Michael, you mentioned yesterday, I want to talk a little bit about that. There were some controversial remarks that were made during closing arguments. In particular, we talked about Laura Hogue's comments about Ahmaud Arbery's legs, his toenails. Was there reaction on the ground there to what she had to say, whether from any of the protesters or anyone involved in the case?
Yeah, discussed. I heard people actually watching the trial from the overflow room. I was there at the time, you know, just shaking their heads and just bewildered and saying things like, that's disgusting. Why would she say something like that? We all know very well the concept of dirtying up the victim, but that went beyond what most people would expect to be fair play, even in that kind of nasty scenario. It was not well received, Jesse, and most think it was just a little overboard.
Yeah, and I want to ask you before we let you go, Michael, when the verdict comes down, are there certain security protocols being put in place around the courthouse in anticipation of what the jury decides?
You know, from what the sheriff's office has told me, it won't be as overt as you might think. For example, in Kenosha, where there were the 500 National Guards persons standing by in case necessary. We don't see that kind of buildup. I think it'll be more subtle, but there is no doubt the sheriff's office is on top of this. I'm telling you, anytime somebody whipped out a megaphone yesterday, they were politely asked to shut it off. And that was really because there was concern the noise would be heard upstairs in that second floor courtroom. So they're on top of it here. I don't think we're going to see a military style, security detail, but I get the feeling that they're ready for anything and hoping for the best.
All right, Michael Bryant, thank you. You're our eyes and ears on what's happening in Glynn County right now. Thank you so much, Brian. Great reporting. So we're going to take a quick break on our end. When we come back, we'll have a lot more to discuss. Stay with us.